Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our final virtual ICAST here for Shimano. My name is JP DeRose, and I want to welcome all of you who've been hanging out waiting for us to get started on our final night, where we are deep diving on everything saltwater. And I mean, I am super excited. We've got some industry pros with us here tonight. We also have some of our team from SNAF here. So this is going to be a phenomenal night. We're going to have some great product to show you guys. We're going to cover everything from reels, rods, terminal tackle, lure, line. We've got it all if you are into the saltwater game. Again, this is an interesting year for all of us here. This is a COVID year. Unfortunately, I'm not able to see all my friends down at ICAST, which we've been doing for over 15 years now. But this is the next best thing for me. It really is Christmas for me. I said this the other night. New gear is Christmas for me. This is my Christmas. I'll give up Christmas easily to find out about what's the newest, latest, and greatest when it comes to fishing. And this is no different. So I'm going to get things rocking here. We're going to bring in our first guest, and he's no stranger to knowing product. It's my good buddy, Trey Epic from Shimano North America Fishing. Trey, how are you, bud? Oh, hold on, Trey. We got you muted here. There we go. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. I mean, we've had a great week. We did our new product showcase release that started us off Monday morning at 9:30 in the morning. And we had all of our pros helping us out with that and you guys helping us out with that. And then last night we did the freshwater deep dive. But now we're going to do saltwater, which I'm a bass guy by heart. I know so are you. But saltwater holds a special place in everyone's heart who has ever experienced it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think a lot of freshwater guys, given the access to saltwater, we try to convert as much as possible. I mean, we're lucky here in Charleston, South Carolina, that we've got, great bass fishing and great inshore fishing and offshore fishing. And typically around May 1st, I turn from a freshwater guy to a saltwater guy once we can start getting offshore and plucking up some of them bottom critters and keeping them. So that converts me to a saltwater guy pretty quick. And yeah, I mean, it's, with a lot of our products at Shimano, we have a lot of crossover product, right? On our low profile bait cast side, on our small spinning side, a lot of these products cross over between fresh and saltwater, particularly on that spinning side. I mean, virtually everything we do on a spinning reel side has crossover application from saltwater and fresh, at least in these kind of small, your small front drag kind of typical spinning reels. So,
yeah. Well, listen, we've all been wondering. I mean, ICAST does do their best to show category, and I know you've got one in your hand that we entered into the new product showcase. So let's just drop this bomb on there. Best to show category, freshwater reel, the new Vanford, which is equally impressive as an inshore double duty reel. So let's go through it, Trey.
Absolutely. So yeah, to that point, I mean, last year we entered Stratic in the saltwater category and it won for saltwater, and we know how many Stratics are sold for freshwater fishing. So yeah, we got a ton of crossover here. And, for me in the Vanford line, there's really going to be 4 sizes that have a lot of saltwater application. First and foremost for me, that C2000 HG, that's a new size. We really targeted kind of guys who were wanting to drop shot and bass fish with something that was lighter weight and that they could fish with all day. But ultimately, that's going to be a dynamite finesse inshore reel, particularly for the speckled trout fishery, which, we've got speckled trout from Texas all the way up to North Carolina. I mean, it covers a lot of the coastlines, and that's going to be just an absolute fantastic speckled trout spinning reel. I actually was traveling up in North Carolina last week. And when we were telling the dealers about that, every single one of them was like, okay, this is a no-brainer for speckled trout. I mean, a lot of guys here in Charleston have been using the 1000s for that fishery. And that C2000 is just going to give you that little extra line capacity, a little better casting distance. And in the case that you hook a big redfish, which happens when you're speckled trout fishing, no, it doesn't matter if you're throwing a tiny little plastic or what, you're going to hook a big redfish at some point, and having that extra line capacity is going to give you a big benefit. From there, I think the next most applicable size for saltwater is going to be that C3000. So from a C3000 through a C5000, we have cross carbon drag throughout. And really what cross carbon drag does is gives you enhanced durability to your drag washer for those fish that are really running hard and burning drag. A felt washer, which is what we have in 2500s and below, it's typically better for light line usage and smoother drag operation. Not saying cross carbon drags aren't smooth, but a felt drag is ultimately going to be smoother. A cross carbon drag is going to be more durable. So your C3000, for me, that's like the ideal redfish size. It's the ideal schoolie striper size. There's some steelhead applications. There's some bay bass applications out there in Southern California. C3000 can handle a lot, right? So, and then when you get up in your 4000s and C5000s, that's when you get into your bigger fish, right? Your snook, your small tarpon, your big stripers in the Northeast. I've seen guys fishing halibuts up in the Northwest and Alaska with
C5000s.
shore casting halibuts in Southern California.
I mean, even yellowtailing in the Keys.
Yellowtail. I mean, there's a ton of stuff you can do with a 4000 or a C5000.
Juvenile tarpon. I mean, the list is endless for that application.
Yeah, I mean, and ultimately the differences between the 4000 and C5000, they're going to be on the same body, but that C5000 is going to have more line capacity, and it's also going to have the round handle knob. You'll see this 4000 that I have here. It's got this flat kind of T knob, and some guys prefer this, right? And in a lot of cases, if that's what you're after is kind of this flatter T knob, the 4000 is going to be the best choice. If you want that round knob and you want the more line capacity, the C5000 is going to be the way to go. It comes with a nominal increase in price. I believe it's $10 difference between a 4000 and C5000. So not that big of a jump, but that C5000 is really starting to resonate in the market and get more popular. I mean, for many, many years, the 4000 was kind of the standard for inshore fishing. And that C5000 has really started to take off here recently. So tons of saltwater applications in this reel. I mean, and it's different from Stratic. You know, in the cases, if you're going to inshore fish and you're going to fish bait and you're going to fish a little bit heavier braids and things like that, I think a Stratic is the better option, right? It's more rigid. It's got that Hagane body. But if you're fishing for, fish and you're lure casting, you're working a bait a lot, you're actively moving, something kind of the thing where Luke last night was talking about with the 70 size bait caster, anything where you're using a lot of hand motion to impart action to your lures, this Vanford is really going to be the ticket. It's just that weight savings is a big deal. And then also that MGL rotor. So that super fast kind of startup on the rotor really allows you to get tight. When a fish knocks slack into your line, when you're throwing a lure and you're jerking it and something eats your soft jerk bait or your Ned rig or whatever, knocks slack in your line, being able to swing that handle real quick, that rotor rotation, snap it into gear and set the hook. It's really going to be an outstanding option. And I was just sitting here with the guys before we got live, and we were all talking about which size we're going to buy and why, and which one we're most excited for. And I think I'm going to end up having a lot of Vanfords in different sizes.
I want one of each. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I know. I was actually thinking about that. I was like, I think I'm just going to put in an order for one of every size so that we'll figure out how to use them later. But so it's a dynamite option as an inshore reel, just depending on what you're doing. And ultimately, there's a size for if it swims near a coastline in the U.S. We've got a size and an application here in Vanford for you. So,
all right, so let's talk a little bit of tech here, Trey. I mean, really, Stratic FL came out last year. It won Best of Show in the saltwater category, but it had a bunch of features that got it closer to Stella than we have ever seen at this price point. But this reel really is all of that, plus a couple of bonuses. It's got that MGL rotor, like you mentioned, but it's also got, that CI4 body, that carbon interfusion body that's going to reduce the weight. But when we go through the list, it's chock full of features. Hagane gear, Micro Module 2, which is cold forged stamped aluminum gear. It's the strongest possible gear you can make. X-ship, so, double bearing supported pinion gear for more power. Silent drive, where they're tightening up all the tolerances. MGL rotor, G-free body. I mean, the list goes on, and I'm floating up all these numbers here and all these signs, but really, this is a reel that lacks nothing when it comes to performance.
Absolutely. I mean, the biggest one for me on these, of all these features for saltwater application, is going to be that X-Protect. X-Protect is a labyrinth construction combined with water repellent spray in both the roller clutch and the line roller bearing, leading to these line roller bearings are actually 10 times more durable than the previous line roller bearing. So we've seen that improvement in Stratic. it's ultimately something that really for saltwater durability is a huge enhancement. So that for me, from a saltwater perspective, that's the biggest feature takeaway. And as you mentioned, yeah, a host of other features that got trickled down from Stella into Stratic.
All right, so we got more to go through, Trey. So we're going to just kind of shuffle our way through here, folks. But, I want to say one thing before I get through that. And this is pretty important because there's a lot of time and effort that goes into what these guys do. So I want to congratulate you, Trey, and your team. And, of course, Kenji Yoshida, all the team that works on the reels for Shimano, whether it's SIC or SNAF. Congratulations on winning Best of Show this year. I think it's a phenomenal accomplishment, and it shows to your devotion to the product. So from all of us, congrats.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, so let me move forward here. We got another reel to deal with, and it's a doozy and probably one of my favorites when it comes to fishing the hardcore salt. So Saragosa, completely redesigned for 2020. Lots of great new features, but one important one I find that came down from our flagship Stella. Let's go through the reel.
Yeah, so I mean, ultimately, new Saragosa, as you mentioned, kind of, with Shimano, we tend to trickle things down from Stella. If they show up in Stella, they start to trickle down over the coming years, and that's just kind of how it works with us. The big takeaway here is going to be that new Infinity Drive feature, and the main point on an Infinity Drive is it increases your cranking power under load. So ultimately, if you were to compare a old 10,000 Saragosa and a new 10,000 Saragosa, you were tight on the same size fish. It's going to be significantly easier to crank under load on the new Saragosa. So reduces that kind of that torque or the resistance, improves your winding power, and ultimately it's just a dynamite feature. It's hard to kind of articulate it and give it justice, right? You really start to feel it when you fish it and turn the handle and get these things under load.
All right, so I'm going to show a piece of this Infinity Drive. So maybe we get a quick explanation for people because it is really groundbreaking when it comes to transfer of power and everything else. So explain Infinity Drive for me, Trey.
So Infinity Drive is ultimately a new way of supporting the pinion gear and how the pinion gear interacts with the spool shaft there, that drive shaft. Especially there's a special kind of coating that's applied to the drive shaft. The pinion gear is also supported with a special bushing as well. There's low friction bushings, and allows essentially just those parts to interact with each other without them torquing against each other and putting side load on each other, and ultimately just reduces that and allows you to enhance your cranking power under load. So it's just one of the things that makes Shimano. We're always coming up with ways to optimize your fishing experience and make the gear easier to use, easier on your body, easier to catch big fish, and that's kind of something we did here.
And again, the whole Hagane concept, Hagane gear, so that cold forged aluminum gear, Hagane body, the all metal body, X ship, again, that double bearing supported pinion gear, X shield, which is a new one as well for this series, and X protect, the labyrinth system. So for water penetration, what are the two key areas that we're looking to protect here on these spinning reels, Trey?
It's always, honestly, the key wear out parts on spinning reels are always your line roller bearing and your roller clutch. Those are the two biggest areas that are going to fail in a spinning reel. And the new X Protect construction is remarkably more durable. If there was any knock on our Saragosas previously, same as the previous Stratic, it was the durability of that line roller bearing. This design, as I mentioned on the previous one, it's 10 times more durable. And you'll see that in your the new design with X Protect. It's unbelievable how much more corrosion resistant and water resistant these are, and no more noisy line roller bearings, and it's a huge improvement for this.
And there's one thing here that I'm noticing on the list that kind of falls through all of our reels almost, is that propulsion line management system, and it's that tapered front edge of that spool to reduce that loop coming off.
Yep.
Giving you extra casting distance, better line management. Something that kind of goes unnoticed in our reels, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. And I mean, it's something that we, at the time, it was a major innovation, years ago, years and years before I started working for Shimano. But it's a technology that now we've employed all the way down to even Sienna, our $29 reels. But it reduces wind knots, reduces friction coming off the spool, increases casting distance. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that spool lip design that just enhance your fishing experience and lead to less frustration.
All right. And then obviously SARB, for those who don't know, shielded anti-rust bearings, critical. But in every one of our top high-end reels, it's kind of standard. It's become a standard for Shimano.
Absolutely. Yeah. SARBs are another one of those. A lot of these technologies are things that they were really, truly groundbreaking back in the 90s when they came out. And they were, think about how ahead of their time they were, that we're still utilizing a lot of those same technologies today, and they're still best in class, right? So things that have trickled up and trickled down and been kind of vignettes throughout our saltwater product line for many years now.
All right, I'm going to bring in the one guy who tested this the most, our good friend Captain Jay Withers. Jay, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How you doing, guys?
I'm good. So, Trey, as we look through, and Trey's talked all the tech, Jay, and you know all this because you've been fishing the reel.
I have.
For those of you who are interested, from 5,000, 6,000, 8,000, 10,000, 14,000, 18,000, 20,000, and 25,000, we're really talking, small inshore fish to almost bluefin tuna size fish, are we not?
For sure. And I had the opportunity to use them tarpon fishing. The busiest part of my year is during tarpon season, and I was super excited to get to use that new Saragosa on those big fish. Couldn't believe the difference, and I've been a Saragosa guy for many years, and couldn't believe the difference when I first got it in my hand. Got it early in the season to be able to pull on some myself. So I got to see the differences, and remarkable difference. And what Trey mentioned with that infinity drive, you can really tell a difference when you're really cranking down on that fish. All the difference in the world.
All right, and our full list is here. Obviously, we're missing a couple of stats on the bottom of this, but I do know the max drag on the 20,000 and 25,000 goes to 44 pounds. So tons of stopping power, cross carbon drag from 5,000 all the way down. Jay, how important in your fishery when you're dealing with tarpon, snook, redfish is that stopping power?
Well, stopping power for us is critical. Sometimes it could be the difference between whether you land him or not. And, in the snook size, we're looking at that 5,000 series Saragosa on some of those bigger fish that hang up close to the mangroves or around structure. You have to be able to pull them away from that structure. And you got to have a reel that's, got the drag support to be able to do that. And then in my world with the tarpon, the biggest fish we landed this year on that new Saragosa 8,000 was 160 pounds taped out. So, we got some really big fish to push on it, and to be able to pull those fish out of the big schools, it was super critical for us.
Awesome. And that goes a long way. So when you can combine a top level cross carbon drag with a load of stopping power, but you're not lacking in the torque part of the reel, which is, the two have to go hand in hand. You can have a great drag, but if you have no torque to turn the handle, the great drag doesn't mean anything if you can't pick up the line.
That's
for you and your clients, do you find this makes it easier for them to get that wind and pull on it?
Yeah, no question about it. For one of the things, I've been guiding almost 18 years now, and is time after time after time, a lot of people will try to just winch the fish in. When the reality is, I try to tell them, use the rod to, lift on the fish and then gain with the reel, gain the line back. Because inevitably, it's very tough to just winch in a 160-pound fish. So that said, I found that, this year I introduced that reel without telling them it was the new, and they got to see the difference. And I can see it from where just being, on the boat, kind of coaching them up, bringing these fish in. I can see that they're still winding and they're gaining line just by cranking. So I was super excited about, just the sheer power of seeing what that infinity drive does.
And that's a great thing, I guess, Trey, you could say for this reel, whether you're jigging, which I've used Saragosas for jigging in the deep for grouper and snapper, or you're casting crabs for permit or tarpon, it's kind of that perfect all-around reel.
Yeah, ultimately there's a size in Saragosa to virtually do anything that you're going to target on spinning gear in the world. Anything you're going to catch on spinning gear, there's something in Saragosa for it, right? So yeah, to that point, Jay touched on it, that 5,000 size is going to be perfect for snook, small tarpon, fishing mangroves, up to that 25,000 is, Jack Springle will be catching bluefins on that. It's something that there's something in it for everyone. Those 14 and 18,000 size editions are not to be overlooked. That's going to be a huge deal for guys that are fishing the Cape Cod Canal for striped bass, that 14,000 size has become a big deal for those surf casters in the Cape Cod Canal. There's going to be a ton of tuna crossover. I know my friends Eric and Mo down in Venice, they do a lot of spin fish topwater for yellowfins down in Venice. Our friends down in Panama use them for the 14s and 18s for yellowfins. Even in California, guys are starting to figure out you can catch a tuna on an egg beater out in California. They're starting to figure that out. And
they're not really not egg beaters anymore, are they? Like, I mean, they got as
no, it's a
drag as a lever drag. So
there's tons of power in them, and there's that 14 and 18,000 size really going to open up a lot of options at a much more affordable price, because those are typically sizes that we've only reserved kind of in those top end Stella SW, Twin Power SW. So getting that size option into a more affordable price point is going to give guys a lot more reasonable option, because I mean, ultimately, if you're throwing plugs and doing things, a 14,000 and 18,000 are a lot more manageable than when you get up into those bigger 20 and 25 sizes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Had been the only Saragosas that had the capacity to handle those type of fish. So.
Absolutely. Well, there's your recap, folks. New Saragosa for 2020. Captain Jay, I'd like to thank you. And obviously, Trey, thank you as well. 2 new models this year over the previous one, 14,000 and 18,000. So keep your eyes open, Trey. We're expecting these the fall of 2020. Am I correct?
Yeah, they tend to start shipping at different times depending on sizes. I think the smaller sizes are going to come first, and it'll trickle up in size as we go. But yeah, start expecting them in your retailers late summer, early fall, and we're looking forward to having them.
Yes,
all right, guys. Thanks so much for your time, boys. We're going to keep moving along right here.
Very good. See ya.
Right.
Thanks
to everyone, obviously, who is watching. Guys, if you could do me a small favor, it's really tiny. Just right on the bottom there, click share. It gets a word out for us. It helps us get the word out on what we're doing here with this new product. And if you could also tag a buddy who's into saltwater fishing, because we have a ton of product. We are on product 3, but we got a ton more coming. More rods, line, lure, and accessories. So tag your buddy in the comment section. If you've got a question, feel free to place it in the comment section. So I'm going to bring in we consider each other our brother from another mother, but Captain Jack Sprangle from the Northeast. Jack, how are you, bud?
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Oh, there you are. There you are. All right. So, no, you're not muted. Just a little delayed, but that's okay. We're going to talk a new thing right here, Jack, and I'm going to bring it up. And in a second here, we're going to have Tristan join us. So I got Tristan here as well. So Travela PX, I mean, Travela F, Travela S have been staples in the saltwater industry for a number of years. But, let's go right to Tristan off the bat, who's in charge of this kind of thing with us. And what's the new deal with the Travela PX, Tristan?
Yeah, JP, glad to be a part of this and be on here and talking all of these new products with y'all. So Travela PX really is a combination for us of Travela S and Travela S, and this is the new generation. So the new blank design will feature high power X, giving less ovalization, less blank twist. If you hook a big fish, if you're jigging, for instance, it's close to structure. You have to put a lot of power on them. And what will happen with a blank is it'll flatten out, kind of ovalize, and that's what eventually will cause it to break. So high power X just gives that greater rigidity, less ovalization, giving you a stronger blank overall and a little bit higher performance.
All right, and I noticed with these rods, we've got 2 different handle configurations. We have a CI4 reel seat with a split grip, and we have a Fuji reel seat with a full EVA foam. What separates them? At what point do they separate? Is it based on power, Tristan?
Yeah, to some degree. So again, as I mentioned, we kind of carried over some of the rods from Travela F as well as some for Travela S. So all the split grip items will be the 6'3" and the 7' items. And then you'll see the shorter, the extra heavy items, as well as some of that 6'6" stuff will be the full grip, which is kind of the collaboration from the F.
All right. And looking at the stats here, obviously a big thing being rated by jig weight, being rated by line class, but also a new guide on these rods as well. You guys went with Sea Guide Zirconia on these?
That's correct. Yep. It's a Sea Guide XQG guide. So high performance, tangle free, low thermal conductivity on that insert. So really just high performance, something, a strong point at this price point, definitely.
Awesome. Now, Captain Jack, I know you have put your mitts on these things, and I know you've used and utilized Travela S and Travela F for a number of years in the Northeast. Give me the playback. How are they fishing? What are you finding about them?
Phenomenal. Yeah, when Shimano first introduced butterfly jigging here, we embraced it right away, and the TC4 tech inside the Travela F was a staple for us. That heavy carbon butt, a little bit more lifting power up in the front. And then when Travela S came out and introduced the C4S, we got a lot more sensitivity to it. And really, the only thing we wanted after that was the power kind of between the two. And that's what you've got with Travela PX. You've got a hybridization of those two techs, and now you have High Power X. And High Power X is just what we're using in all of our big game rods from Shimano now, from O'Shea to Grappler to, again, now new Travela PX. And having fished these, the biggest difference, if you fished the other two models before, they're lighter, they're more sensitive, and they have more power. It's kind of everything you could ever want to improve these rods. And what's really going to make these nice is whether you're jigging or whether you're even just a live bait person, anytime you're positioned over fish vertically with these, they're going to make a great crossover rod. And having dabbled into the Travela F series and having rods both in spin and conventional that go up to 7 feet now, you can use lures with these, you can fish live bait with these, you can jig with them, you can do just about everything. They're going to be a real winner, and they're priced right where they need to be. So it's going to be real hot.
Let's talk about the jig ratings a little bit, because obviously these were initially built as a butterfly jigging system rod. But with these ratings, Jack, someone who wants to go buy one, how do you determine what weight jig, to tell what rod you want? Is there like a depth and current versus weight of the jig that you use as a standard? Or do you say, like obviously they go up to, I believe, 350 gram jig weights, which is a pretty big jig, but they also go as light as 50 gram, which is almost like a slow jig or a light jig. So what does someone get as a jack of all trades kind of jigging rod?
Correct. Again, you're going to want to match the jig or the weight of what you're going to be doing. So maybe it's ideally it's a jig, and up here in the Northeast and actually around the world for jigging casting industry, gram ratings on rods have almost become more important than power ratings, because it gives people the idea on the kind of torque you're going to be able to put on that rod, the type of input you're going to be able to impart on that jig by lifting. So you want to have a little bit of a conversion, understand what kind of weight your jig is going to be. You want to match that to the rod. If you're going to be fishing something big game or deeper water, like 7 ounces or heavier, you're going to want to be looking at that 200 gram and higher. If you're going to be doing something a little more inshore, lighter jigs, fluken, sea bass, you're going to be looking down there at that 50 gram, even up to maybe 100 gram if you want a little bit heavier, lifting power. If you're going to be fishing larger sinkers, something in that rating.
All right, and that's a great starting point for people. It really is. The idea, I guess, behind doing these systems for you guys, Tristan, is to make the consumer more comfortable in picking the right thing, because there is probably nothing worse than taking a 150 gram rod and putting a 300 gram jig on it. It just doesn't have the backbone to put the flutter in that jig when you're working it. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so ultimately you want the rod to load and then be able to flick the jig. So that's kind of the whole purpose of that weight rating there on those N grams for those jigs. If it doesn't load and it's constantly, or it doesn't unload and it's constantly under tension, you're never getting the proper jig action when you're jigging. So that's kind of the key there with those ratings.
All right, so Jack, we're going to hang you in the background for a bit till we get to lure. We got a few new rods to go through, so you're good with that, bud?
Yes, sir. I'll be here.
All right, so Tristan, we're going to keep pushing you along here. Jack, we'll see you in just a minute. And thanks to all the people who tagged their buddies here. I noticed a bunch of you did it. Appreciate it. Hitting the share button again, that helps us get the word out. Let's go to another new entry for 2020 here, Tristan. All right, and we have got the new Talavera boat rods. So we got, looks like 2 new models, Tristan, or what? Let me see the sheet we got. What do we got coming up?
Yeah, so there will be casting. There'll be 5 casting and 5 spinning items. This really is a crossover for us between the inshore and offshore market, right? So for guys who may be jetty fishing from a boat or even from the shore, pier fishing, really just a super versatile series that's perfect for the inshore fish as well as out to the offshore market. So we're super excited about it. The whole product got a complete refresh, new guide train, new grips, new reel seats. So super awesome product that we are excited to bring to market.
All right, I'm seeing those new sea guides, same as the Travela PX. And we have everything from medium heavy to heavy, from 6'6" to 7 foot in both spinning and casting. $119.99 MSRP. Great price.
Yeah, it's awesome. And to kind of talk a little bit, you mentioned the sea guide. So I'll point out kind of one key unique feature with these. On this stripper guide on the spinning item, it is a high frame, right? So when you put a larger spinning reel on, the line angle will sometimes be from here. And then if you have a short guide, it makes it a really steep angle, giving you some thumping or something when you're reeling. So by giving us a higher guide here, C-Guide XQG, a high frame, it cuts that line angle, makes it a little bit smoother, and gives you better performance. So one unique feature kind of to point out on the guide train on these.
All right. And then as we stay in the family here, we're going to look at Talavera BW. So Blue Water, I assume, by the BW.
Yeah, that's correct. So this kind of makes the jump out to the offshore series. So this is everything. First of all, it's a new introduction for us. And it really includes everything from your stand-up rods, some deep drop application, bottom fishing, as well as some lighter actions with slick butts, perfect for kingfish. So it's really the full gamut, and it really completes our Talavera series, from inshore, boat, and then going out into the blue water. So really, really excited about these as well.
All right. And feature-wise, let's run quickly through, and I'll pull up the specs on these. What are we looking at feature-wise? Same guides? Are they different guides on these ones?
Yeah, so there's actually a ton of variants in these. As you can see here, there's the conventional slick butt, ring guide slick butt. Some have roller tips.
Yep.
So I can kind of go through a little bit, but
I've got it right here, and I can run through it pretty quick. I mean, Blue Water conventional with the Fuji Fazlite guides, and the conventional slick butt have Fuji aluminum oxide, as well as the ring guide slick butt. And then, like you mentioned, the roller tip on the slick butt. So Fuji aluminum oxide, and then an AFCO roller tip.
correct.
So again, 149 to 219, right in that super affordable price range for an offshore blue water rod.
Yeah, and with the feature set that you mentioned, the different components, whether it be the Alps Unibutt or the Fuji DPS H reel seat, all the way up to the AFCO standard roller tips, it makes it a super competitive product at that price.
Absolutely. And so in terms of these, I'm noticing grip material changes a little from conventional to everything slick butt. What is that slick butt? Is that shiny, what you've got in your hands, correct?
So this is actually the Unibutt. I believe I have a slick butt down here that I can show you. But yeah, just depending on the application, so you can see a slick butt model here. Really just depending on the application, it varies, right? So for the heavier duty rods, we have the Unibutts on, just offering that extra durability depending on what you may be fishing for. The slick butt also gives you more durability if it's in a rod holder you're trolling than EVA will. But for like the bottom fishy rods, you'll see there's a 7-foot extra heavy as well as a 7-foot extra heavy that have EVA, and that's just for the comfort when you're bottom fishing. So again, as I mentioned, a ton of variants depending on the model or the SKU there, but they all have.
So in this series, we're seeing deep drop becoming more and more popular. Do we have something that fits that need for the fishermen?
We do, yeah. So we're super excited. We offer electric reels, so this just kind of allows us to pair PowerPro, our electric reels, and then now we have a deep drop rod. So this is Talavera DD. There will be two models. There will be a 50, which will have a number 2 butt and a size 18 Alps swivel tip. And then there will be an 80, which has a number 4 Alps bent butt with a size 22 swivel tip. So that was one thing, when we were going through the R&D of these, we kind of learned that guys want a bigger swivel tip for knot clearance, swivels, things like that coming through. So that was a key that we wanted to make sure that we included in the development aspect of these.
All right. And so we're going to keep running along because you guys have really outdone yourself this year. I mean, my God, there is just rods after rods. Blue Water Spec, there's more here I have to put up. So here's your roller tip Unibutt. Again, XH and double XH at 6 foot. But really important rating for people looking at this are the PowerPro ratings of 40 to 80 and 50 to 100 on the double XH. And there's your aluminum butts and everything else that you got. And let me see what else I've got here in terms of the spec kitty. Talavera, so let's see. Blue Water Deep Drop. I've got your stats for you right here. So you were just explaining those. Yeah. And then again, folks, for those of you looking for something in that deep drop, if you want to try it, whether you want to throw a Beastmaster on there, one of our electric reels, and some PowerPro, you could spool up with the new Depth Hunter offshore that Captain Steve Rogers is going to be talking about in just a bit. But Blue Water Deep Drop, 5-footers. Obviously, these are both bent butts. Tristan, correct?
They are. Again, that 50 is a number 2 Alps bent butt, and then that 80 will be a number 4. So for your larger size reel foots.
there you go, folks. If you're looking for a good swordfish dinner or checking out some snowy groupers or something like that along there, giving Deep Drop a try, we now have a rod, and these ones are $299 and $349. So again, some very, very cool new stuff. Let me just jump into this sheet again here, Tristan. So we got one more, and let's see, two more for you. We're going to keep you busy here tonight, but you guys have outdone yourself.
Yeah, tons of
inshore.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, you know, we have now the offshore lineup in the Talavera, so we have the complete gamut, and Talavera name is so strong in the market, so we're excited to have a new Talavera inshore as well. So kind of just from here, you can see these now feature a Fuji VSS reel seat, so a really slim, lightweight design that also offers the durability that Fuji's known for. So super comfortable in hand and pairs really well with any of our smaller spinning reels, like Trey showed earlier, the Vanford. Once you build a combo with that, Stratic, Vanford, any of those, you get that really good balance on the rod, and that was something that we wanted to strive for. Also, these will feature the Seaguide XOG guides. So again, that tangle-free guide, low thermoconductivity on that ring, so perfect for all the inshore performance.
And $99 to $119 for the XH 8-footer. I mean, really, when you start talking 6'6" to 8 foot, you've got rods that can pretty much go anywhere for any species. Again, those small inshore to even tarpon at that point with an 8-footer extra heavy.
Yeah, that's right. We've got the 6'6" medium heavy there, and it's kind of a niche thing, but even guys who are sheephead fishing up in close quarters who need a shorter rod with enough backbone, it's perfect. And that's, so little things like that get overlooked in the market. We kind of included in here and made them unique. That 8-foot extra heavy is perfect for casting any of the Colt snipers, from shore, or guys who are tossing jigs at cobia all the way up to tarpon fishing. So like you mentioned, just the full gamut here, including, your standard 7-foot medium for trout, things like that, redfish, up into the medium heavies.
All right. And we got one last one to bust your chops about here, Tristan. Saguaro. So newly redesigned for 2020 as well.
Yeah, that's right. So Saguaro is kind of our entry-level rod into the saltwater market. So we wanted to go through, it kind of needed a refresh from the previous generation. So we wanted to go through and give it a full update. So as you can see, we spent a lot of time making sure that the grips were comfortable in hand, new guide train, which I'll highlight in a second, nice comfortable reel seat, rubber butt on here. So just offering that added durability for guys who may be pier fishing or in the surf, giving something that adds just that extra durability and gives them longevity with the product. There are a couple 2-piece models in here as well. So you can see, and those are the 8-foot and 9-foot medium heavies there. Breakdown, you can travel with them if you're going on vacation, things like that. So really this rod is meant, to kind of cover the full gamut of guys who are in the surf, guys who may be looking for a price point series for a boat. So really the full gamut here again, JP.
Okay, when you're talking price point series, you're not kidding. $49.99 until you get to the two pieces, and then $54.99. We spend more on lures often cases.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's to be able to bring a product that is affordable at that price point with the feature set that these have. We're super excited about it.
All right, awesome. Well, Tristan, I'm going to thank you for your time, bud. You did an excellent job going through this product for us. We're going to move into the lure category, so I'm going to let you go, bud. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, we're going to slide this over, and I'm going to bring back my brother from another mother, Jack. Jack, how you doing, bud? Thanks for waiting.
Mr. JP.
All right. Jack, I got a little video to put up here before we talk about the next lure. So let's do this, all right? Because I think you're going to like this. I actually got this done today. And let's put this up. All right, Jack. So you know exactly what we're going to be talking about right now, bud.
Oh, yeah.
But I got a part of it that needs to be brought out real quick. And let's do this right now. I'm going to pop this up. And best of show winner, saltwater category lure.
No brainer.
No brainer. SP Orca Flash Boost. We're going to bring in Adam. Adam, congratulations, dude. That is incredible. Best of Show category winner for ICAST Online 2020.
Yeah, no, thank you. We're really excited about this lure. I got to fish it with Jack, actually. We got a pretty cool story. I'm sure he remembers. We went out targeting bluefin, and first cast at they were actually beating up a thresher shark. There was a bunch of big tunas, and they were pushing on them and rubbing on them. It was crazy. And through this, hit the water, sank a few feet, and I got absolutely just blasted with it. And I think you probably remember that, Jack, but it was pretty cool. I mean, this thing does what it's designed to do, mimic a dead and dying bait fish as it sinks. I mean, it's an incredible lure. It really is.
All right. And aside from winning Best of Show, there's a good reason for this. I mean, it is unique in its class. When you showed me the first one, you sent me one, and I was like kind of like mind boggled by the fact that it has so much action. I'm going to pop up the colors available. And I know Jack in the Northeast is more than a little excited about a couple of these. 6 colors, correct, Tristan? Or Tristan, Adam, sorry.
All right. There's a bunch of us tonight. Yeah.
So you got 6 colors, and they're all 150 mil. What's the weight? 2.5?
It's going to be 77 grams. So, yeah, a little over 2.5. And again, yeah, like you said, so the action of this, we don't have a video of it, but when it sinks, I don't know if everybody can see it. You can actually see the flash boost there. I'm looking at the video, but it has a side-to-side kind of shimmy. So it'll do this, right, when it's sinking. So it really makes that flash boost just kind of pop and work as it's sinking. And that's the point of this, right? So when a bait fish is dying, it's not swimming all over the place. You know, when it's stunned, it's quivering and it's sinking. And that's where we place this flash boost, and that's what it was designed to do and mimic. It also comes with the propulsion weight transfer system, which has it's a lead weight on the inside of the body that's spring loaded. So when you cast, it'll shift to the back of the lure hits the water, it comes back into the center and rebalances the lure. So it's consistent long distance casting where you have rattles and BBs on the inside of the lure that are just shifting around. It allows for consistent casting. But yeah, it has our Kioran finish. So lifelike scale pattern. We actually scanned sardines to get this. So 3D foil print on these lures. It's shiny, realistic, definitely fools the bluefin.
I can actually show it right here for you, but I can pop that up so you can see it.
Yep.
I mean, if I really go through this, I mean, look at this right there. There's your realistic 3D pattern on the scales. And you mentioned that little bit of a shimmy right there, and that's what you were talking about.
Yep, 100%. And I mean, it's a well thought out lure. We didn't just do an ABS body. It has 3X hooks and split rings, so you can target those big bluefin out of the box. But Jack's used it, so I'm going to quit talking. If you want to touch on it, but I'm obviously pretty excited about this lure series. It's out of the park, knock out of the park. So.
All right, well, Jack, you are the guy that has used this. Give me your impressions of it. I want to know about its casting performance, obviously, but it's where are those unique places where this beats other lures?
All right. So again, Adam mentioned it's about 2.5 ounces, but it casts like a 4-ounce plug. And the reason for that is that weight propulsion transfer system. When you cast the plug, you're actually going to hear an audible kind of snap to it, and it loads and gives you a ton of distance. I mean, significantly more distance than you normally would a plug of equal size. And then when it hits the water, it's just the most amazing thing. The first few people I showed flash boost to were like, wow, it's a gimmick. I said, yeah, it is, right? And I just kind of flipped it into the water and I let it sink, and they watched it. And Adam undersold it. It explodes when it hits the water. I mean, it's throwing, not only does the plug kind of fall on its own, but when the flash boost kicks in with it, it's throwing light all over the place. So as a charter guy, it's a home run, because you cast that into a school of fish, it's going to fall down injured. And just like Adam said, I mean, he didn't even get to come tight on the plug, and it came tight on a fish already. That it just exploded on it as soon as it hit the water. And I fished it from as far south as mid New Jersey all the way up to the Cape. And every bluefin, every kind of tuna that I put it in front of, from bluefin, yellowfin, even big eye, they all took swipes at them. And we got some bluefin up to about 200 pounds on them so far, just on the standard rigging, and they held up beautiful. They're through wired. I love the finishes on them, and it's a very easy plug to work. You don't have to overfish this plug. Again, you're probably going to get hit when you first hit the water and it sinks, but just giving it a little bit of input while you reel in and take up the slack and pause, that little pause in between, let it do its thing. It's going to get hammered.
Awesome. And so out of curiosity, Adam, what's the sink rate on this? because it is a sinking pencil. What's the sink rate? Do you know?
It's a faster sinking rate. We designed these for the Northeast. So, they have a lot of bird piles and things up there. You can't fish topwaters because it has to get out of the range of the birds. They dive in the water, they'll grab your plugs. So this thing's going to sink around 1 foot a second, roughly. Depends on what you're using. But yeah, it's a faster sinking pencil. And again, we designed that. This was for the Northeast in mind. So it can get past those birds, but it's going to work on yellowfin in the Gulf. We've got blackfin on it. Any tuna or large pelagic's going to eat it, but it does have a faster sinking rate.
I'd love to take that to Panama, JP.
Oh, yeah. Don't worry. I've actually got some behind me here, which are in my case for my September trip. So full intentions of checking it out I want to see if I can get a big rooster on it, because that would really
instantly.
Yeah, instantly in the white water. They should eat that thing. So $22.99 retail. When are they going to be hitting the stores, Adam?
These are available now. So we're ready to roll. If you go out there and look at your retailers, they should have them in stock. And if they don't, you can probably find them online.
And Jack, your color picks. What are the ones you want?
D, all the above. But, here in the Northeast, that blue pink, the half peak and the green mac have been really good for us. They've worked phenomenally well. But
there you go, folks. Whether you're chasing the bluefin tuna on the West Coast or that hot New Jersey bite that's going on right now that's going to move up to the Cape and into Canada, into PEI, you might want to check out the SP Orca Flash Boost. I do want to say this, as much as I said it to Trey, Adam, I want to congratulate you and Shin and the rest of the team on winning a Best of Show category for saltwater lures. So congratulations, bud. I want you two to hang around just a bit. Yep. I'm going to bring Steve Roger in, and then we're going to come back and talk lures, all right?
Absolutely. Thank you guys for really.
Jack, you're good, dude. If you got to roll, you're good.
All right, brother.
All right. Thank you, boys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So, folks, again, thank you, everybody who's joining us tonight and listening to Shimano's Deep Dive on Saltwater. We are ripping through some product tonight. Super excited. 2 Best of Show winners for ICAST Online, both the Vanford and the SP Orca Flash Boost, which you just saw right now. We have ripped through our reels with Saragosa and Vanford. We have also gone through new Travela PX, Talavera, Saguaro rods, inshore. We've got boat rods. We've got kind of everything going. And I want to bring up my good buddy here, Captain Steve Roger from the Keys. How are you, Steve?
I'm great, JP. How about you, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I get to talk fishing and see all the new gear before most people do. So we're doing good. I'm going to bring up something here, Steve, that you and I talked about on Monday morning, and this was one of our entries into the new product showcase, Depth Hunter Offshore. So again, for those of you who don't know, Depth Hunter has been around for a number of years, but the new offshore one has switched from 25-foot segments of colored segments to 100-foot segments with 10-foot increments of black ticks. And Steve, explain to me, what's the benefit of going this route with these longer, deeper color spools at 100 feet?
Well, basically, this stuff came out a few years ago, and it had a 25-foot increment. And for us in the big boats, that's a little short, right? So we're fishing big gear, big tackle, 80 pounds, 60 pound. Having those larger 100-foot sections really makes it nice. So if we're trolling, we can have a perfect spread, right? The lines will be out at 100 foot apiece. We can make turns, nothing tangles, nothing crosses. If you're high-speed trolling for Wahoo, these guys are putting four clicks out, right? So that's 400 feet of line out, and exactly, very precise sword fishing. A lot of guys are like, I hit the bottom, I come up 200 feet. Well, guess what? With this line, you can actually know that you've come up exactly 200 feet from where the bottom is hit. It's a very crucial element for that deep water. Absolutely.
So, whether you're high-speed Wahoo trolling or, like you said, deep dropping, or the most painful thing in the world that I've done with you, 330-foot AJ jigging.
Yeah.
Which
well, jigging is huge, JP. Hey, I got to give you some props. Listen, if your fishing career goes to crap, this technology thing, you got it figured out, brother. You are running the show up in here. I got to give you a little.
Yeah, thanks, bud. I'd rather fish, though. I got to be honest.
No.
Fishing. I love doing this, but
I had to get my daughter in here to get me on here. But no. Yeah, the deep jigging is so crucial, right? So we fish wrecks out there 300 foot. We got clients sometimes who are not real familiar with feeling the bottom. Listen, when you got that much line out, there's a lot of drag, a lot of scope. There's a big old belly in the line. You're going to hit the bottom. What I can say is I'll start the day. Well, I'll cut the line right to a solid color, so I don't have a half piece. I'll go right to solid color. I'm going to say, guys, we're fishing in 300 feet of water. I want you to let out 3 colors, maybe a half of a color. I know for a fact that they are in the zone, and that's crucial, right? Because the hardest thing on a fishing boat is actually getting people to understand the feel for the bottom. It's one thing when it's 10 foot, but when it's 300, it's a whole another ball game.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for those of you who aren't familiar with the PowerPro brand, if you're not, you've probably been living under a rock for the last number of years, considering it really has changed the fishing industry, PowerPro. Depth Hunter Offshore has 5 colors, and it just repeats itself. It's available in good size spools because of the offshore application. So 1,000 yard, 1,500 yard, and 3,000 yard spools, and in 3-pound tests, 65, 80, and 130. The big thing to note here, folks, with this line, with PowerPro in braid in general, it's got 0 stretch, but it's got incredibly small diameter. If you were to try to spool up 65 or 50-pound mono, you would never get the line capacity you need or be able to cut the depth through the current like you can. So our 65-pound test, it's sporting 16-pound diameter, 80 is 18, and 130 is equivalent to 20-pound mono. So massive differences and no memory. I mean, Steve, how big is that? You've got the competition sailfish reels. You got your Talicas and BFCs loaded up with 20-pound mono. But how much of a pain is memory when it comes to mono and fluoro?
No, we back in the old days, we would have to, at the end of every trip, drag the line home, because if we didn't do that, we had to pull it all off. My wife used to hate me, man. I'd make her pull like 12 rods every night, and we'd re-spool mono because the line's twisted up. Listen, with braid, if you don't know about braid, you're right. You've been sleeping under a rock, because, I can saw through anything I want. I am not going to lose the fish. I got so much capacity. You talk 65-pound test, you talk 16-pound test diameter. What that's doing is allowing you to fish a lot smaller gear. And I'm talking, 66% smaller gear. I'm talking the tiniest little reel, but it's going to hold 400 yards of 60 pounds. So everybody's very comfortable now. Kids can hold heavy tackle, and you're not going to lose any more fish.
Absolutely. All right, bud. Well, listen, again, thank you for hanging with us. I told you 40 minutes. I got you at 50. Pretty close.
Man, no worries. I was getting my own education. I love listening to this stuff because, listen, Shimano's at the top. And if you're not there, you're not there. But listen, we are at the top. So all the products are hitting home runs.
I agree 100%. So thank you, Captain Steve Roger from Into the Blue, obviously. Wish you guys a great season this year. And I'm hoping to see you down there real soon.
All right. Give me a call, man. Ready.
All right, bud. All right. So we're going to continue on our merry way, folks. We are 57 minutes in, and we're going to hit the home stretch here. We're getting right back into lures. So I'm going to bring back in our good friend Adam Litton from SNAF. And Adam, the next one we're talking about, we got a bunch of jigs, bud. A bunch of new jigs.
We do. Yeah.
Butterfly Monarch. What's the deal?
All right. So this is going to be, I get a lot of feedback, that everybody assumes jigs are the same, the action, whatever. They can all do everything, right? You can't just have, one jig in your arsenal when you go out there. You have to have multiple sizes, multiple weights, multiple actions, multiple profiles when you go out there to do this. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. So this one here is our Butterfly Monarch. And I've gotten some feedback that, hey, it looks like the flat side, but it's completely different jig. So it's not rear weighted. It's not an asymmetrical design. So what that's going to do is give it a different sink rate, which is slower. And it's also going to give it a lot more action. So this thing's going to actually swim in a circular, kind of an erratic motion when you retrieve it. And then it's going to spiral and backslide on the downfall versus our flat side, which is going to be more of a walk the dog action. You can, and then you work that a little faster, and it also sinks faster. And then it's going to spiral on the descent. So it's different. You don't know what the fish are going to want that day. If they want a more aggressive presentation, you're going to go with the Monarch. But if you want something more subtle, you go with the flat side. And then also you have to factor in your depth and your drift speed. So if you're drifting really fast, you're going to want to go with that flat side to stay vertical. So there's a lot of factors that go into this. And it's like any other technique with fishing. You have to experiment on that day and just make sure you have a lot of options to test.
All right. So 6 colors, 90 gram, 110 gram, 135 gram, 160 gram. What's the recommended? So when you're talking 90, that's basically near shore stuff you're talking.
Yeah, and it's funny too. Is a general rule of thumb, a lot of people say match your gram weight to your depth, which is somewhat true. But, it's here in South Carolina, we actually use the smallest jig we can get away with on a given drift. We have a lot of cigar minnows that our fish eat here, our grouper and snapper. So we try to match that. And our 112 flat side, for example, or that 90 gram Monarch is what we're going to use if we can get away with it in, say, 180 feet of water. So right. It's not so straightforward, unfortunately. You kind of have to experiment.
Well, there never is in fishing, dude. It's you got current, you've got depth. There's so many variables. Diameter of line is all going to affect the way these jigs hit the bottom.
Yep, absolutely. And say you're targeting, let's say, black sea bass in 90 feet of water, 80, 90 feet of water. You're obviously not going to need a 160 gram jig. You can use that smaller 90 gram size in that scenario. But when you get to those deeper depths, it's not to say that you can't use that jig as well. It's a situational thing.
All right. And so the best advice you can give everyone is just buy a couple of each, because that'll get you covered no matter what you run into. I mean, really, that is the way you want to make sure people are covered. Another one, the wing fall.
Yep.
I'm going to pull this one up. So again, you mentioned different rates of fall or different actions. And I liken it to the bass world where, a flat side crank doesn't run like an MR round crank or a shad shaped crank. Butterfly jigging has really gotten that detailed, hasn't it?
It has, absolutely. And I mean, you look at the jigging world now, I mean, the guys that do it on a regular basis, they have hundreds of jigs in sizes, shapes, colors, everything, They
weigh more than crankbaits, though.
I don't know. The bass guys, I mean, the crankbait side, that's a whole nother ball game, but it's the same concept. It really is. You have different actions, profiles, sink rates, things like that. It's the same exact thing. And this one's going to have the butterfly wing falls. It's going to have a faster sink rate than our flat fall, because that's another thing I've heard. It's similar in shape. It also is going to have different actions. This one's going to have kind of a more hug the bottom. You want to keep it down there. It's going to have a side-to-side wobble, a backslide, and it'll have kind of a cradle swing. And so it has some random actions versus our flat side or our flat fall, which has that horizontal slide. So that's designed more, not to say you can't use it when you're fishing for bottom fish, but that'll stay in the strike zone longer. So say you're fishing for suspended tuna or amberjacks or whatever. But it's just a different approach, different action again.
All right, and I'm going to blow this up a little bit because it's a little bit small on my side, just because there's so much information here. But wow, okay, lots of yeah. There's 6 color choices like there was in the Monarch, but so 80 gram, 100 gram, 130 gram, 160 gram, 200 gram, 250 gram. So a deeper water variety or option with this jig system.
Absolutely, and this jig also, slow pitch is really starting to catch on. When the current's slow or pressured fish, they're really lethargic. So this is the ideal jig for that. It's going to be a more subtle approach. You're just going to kind of lift the rod and let it fall, versus your flat side and Monarch, where you're really working that jig to rip it up off the bottom. So this jig is also geared towards that as well.
All right, and let's keep chugging along here. You guys have been busy. Adam, you've been very busy. HD Orca. Again, yep. Folks, for everybody watching, sorry, Adam, don't want to cut you off here, but for everybody watching, thanks for hanging with us, obviously. We got a couple questions about PowerPro, so I'm hoping someone from SNAF is going to jump on there. We got one about the diameter comparing to Max Quattro, and we got someone asking about Deepwater PowerPro's availability, so hopefully we can get our SNAF team on that to answer those. Adam, we're going to bring it up. HD Orca, which I have actually had phenomenal success with this lure. Give me the breakdown on HD Orca.
Yeah, absolutely. So this one, it's a top water. It's going to sit kind of vertical in the water. It's going to dive down and have a really wide erratic swimming action. Dives down to about a foot. So it's not like a popper or the TP Orca, which kind of stays on the surface. Again, gives you a different approach, different profile, different look for these fish. And what we found too is a lot of times if fish tend to knock the bait out of the water or something's coming up and you're just not getting a good hookup ratio, something that dives just a little bit deeper, it helps because those fish are not going to swipe it or knock it out of the water. So that's where this lure comes into play. It casts like a bullet, has the propulsion weight transfer system, which is patented Shimano technology. The Flash Boost 2, which I didn't mention earlier, is a Shimano patented technology that's actually offered in the 200 size. I think we're going to cover that. Hopefully I didn't jump ahead. But yeah, it's an awesome topwater bait. It like you said, you've had a lot of fun in Panama. I didn't get to go. I get to send you the samples and you get to go have fun with it.
Yeah, sorry about that, dude. But it's gone further than Panama. I've thrown it with Jack, and I figured out in Panama with this lure, and you could do the long sweeping twitch that's going to get that head to dip under the water and have that action. But I actually found when you point the rod tip into the water and just a straight cadence reel, it's got that, like you mentioned, that side to side, and you can almost track it like a subsurface crankbait. My son caught a 53-inch Cuda in the Keys in 3 feet of water on this thing. So, I mean, it has worked absolutely everywhere I've taken it. So it's definitely a good one. Let me jump over to the spec sheet on these. We've got a spec sheet. So it looked like 6 colors available, obviously. 140 mil in size, 5.5 inches. 69 grams, so 2 3/8. And you're right, it does cast with that propulsion weight system. It casts a country mile.
It does.
Yeah, and $24.99, and 2 new colors for this year in this, obviously, with skipjack.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and both sizes, that 140 and the 175. So
yeah,
and it has that Kioran finish again, lifelike realistic patterns. Especially this is designed for pelagics or clear water at least. Yep. So you're going to want that lifelike pattern. You don't want any bright or crazy colors. You want to match the hatch in this situation.
All right, and then moving right along, HD Orca. This is the 200 size. Is this the big boy you're talking about?
This is the big boy. Yeah, it's a big one. It's almost 5 ounces. So this is, again, it has the same action, same propulsion weight transfer system. It also has our flash boost that's offered in the stick bait, but a little different orientation, and we have to adjust our flash boost positioning in our lures based off of how that sits in the water. So the HD Orca is going to sit like this. So we have multiple plates down the side of the body, and the spring orientation supporting that obviously helps it shift and move around when it's sitting still. So it gives it action, even when the lure's not being worked. But yeah, this one, it's awesome. I mean, we've caught a lot of yellowfin on it. It's any tuna, large pelagic, you're gonna go out there, you're gonna crush them on it.
Yeah, I've got one in my hand that I'm showing. I don't know if you can see that, but I actually have one that you sent me.
Yep.
This was supposed to come to Panama before this whole damn COVID thing happened, but it's still in the box where it needs to be going. It is going to be coming. So yeah, it looks like you have 3 independent mirror plates inside this one, rather than that one singular one and they're free floating on center apexes. It looks like.
Yeah, they have little micro springs really supporting them, so it doesn't take much motion or any activity to really get that moving. And it's designed on this one to kind of mimic fins or gills flipping, because this thing's hanging out on the top of the water. So that's where the positioning comes into play there. There was some thought behind it. We didn't just throw it in there and say, hey, it's going to put off some flash.
Yeah, I've never seen you guys really just throw something in there willy-nilly. So I wouldn't expect anything less from you guys and your team. So again, 200 mil, so 7 7/8 inches in length, 148 grams, which is 5 1/4 ounces, and 6 colors. So blue, pink, blue sardine. I got to say, blue, pink is one of my favorite colors. I mean, it catches everywhere I go, but this is blue sardine is kind of what I had in my hand, and it's just incredible as well. So great job there as well. Let's see what else you got. Busiest team in fishing right now. All right, and Colt Sniper Twitch bait 80 high pitch.
Yep. So this is an awesome bait. It doesn't get the love it should, honestly, in my opinion. So we added some new colors to this, some natural patterns. Again, has that Kioran finish, that menhaden, chartreuse croaker, white bait, and speckled trout.
Speckled trout, yep.
So it is a twitch bait, right? But the thing about it is it has this glass fiber body. So it's not just an straight ABS body with, through wire construction. It's an ABS body, but it has glass fibers infused into that plastic, the ABS. So it's going to really give off a high pitched knock, a different sound than any competitor is going to offer. Again, and it has through wire construction, which, you don't often see in a lot of inshore baits. So especially if you're fishing somewhere like Louisiana with a twitch bait, you might be catching a 15-inch trout, and then all of a sudden a 30-inch or a 30-pound bull comes in and crushes that bait. You don't have to worry about any lure failure here. This thing's ready to roll out of the box, or a big snook or anything like that, something you're not expected.
Yeah, and good quality hooks to go with it and split rings.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And another point on this too is our floating model. It's essentially a small HD Orca, and it's going to dive down, roughly. This one doesn't dive down a foot, maybe 6 inches, and it'll swim, and then you let it return to the surface. That cup shape on the head really makes it easy to work. And again, gives you a different look, especially for inshore fish. When you're fishing for trout or redfish, they tend to smack the bait out of the water a lot. If you're fishing a traditional walking bait that sits, horizontal in the water, this one's going to dive down and give them a different look, and they can actually hit that bait, head on versus smacking it out of the water. So it gives you a better hookup ratio, smaller profile as well than your typical walking bait. Yep. So it's a great overlooked bait, I'll tell you.
And the one thing you mentioned, that little dip in the head, it almost acts like a crankbait, where if you get that nose under the water, it gives that bait a little wander when you're straight reeling it. So it is pretty versatile. You can twitch it, you can straight reel it, you can do a bunch of stuff with this bait. And yes, in the dirty water, that high pitched sound calls them in really, really well. So, all right, let's keep moving along, because Colt Sniper's really become a name in the lineup of Shimano lures that's become a standard. I mean, I know I rely on it quite a bit, but we've had a bunch of them now. You got another one, the Walk High Pitch.
Yep. We've had this one, the 110 size. It's a kind of a legacy item. And then we've expanded to a smaller 3 3/4 inch size and a bigger, almost 5-inch size, just to kind of cover our bases. We also added some natural patterns to this one as well. Comes with that through wire construction, those hooks that are ready to roll out of the package. You don't have to worry about anything. And again, those new color, we added some natural patterns to this as well. This thing casts like an absolute rocket. It's, if you need to cover ground, which is important for a lot of topwater applications, this is the lure for it.
Yeah, and it's absolutely very easy to walk as well. And when we're talking about walking, you want that walk the dog side to side action, because it's tail weighted and it gets that nose up. Your next twitch is oftentimes just that opposite direction. So very, very, very easy to work. So new colors for this year.
And when you mentioned the tail weighted too, it just came to my mind, but you actually get a better hookup ratio with something that's tail weighted. They can't push it out of the water as easily, So that's another thing to consider when you're fishing topwater. Something that's sitting like this, they can't smack it out of the water, versus something that's sitting like this. So it's another thing to consider when you're fishing topwaters. Yeah,
and to go along with the 110, there's also a silent rather than a high pitch. So basically the same. We're talking same sizes, same specs, same attitude in the water, same motion, just for those days the fish don't want that extra noise.
Absolutely. Or clear water applications. I mean, anytime you need a more subtle approach, calm, clear, or pressured fish is when you'd want to throw this.
All right. And let's see, where are we sitting next? Colt Sniper. Oh, my favorite. Two of my favorite. I mean, I feel like we've changed Panama forever since these things have come down with us. Colt Sniper sinking stick bait. In my opinion, one of the most underlooked or overlooked, underutilized baits that has some incredible, incredible action. So walk us through the sinking stick bait.
Yeah, again, this has that patented propulsion weight transfer system technology. This thing casts incredibly well. We use it actually for a lot of, we do some land-based striper fishing here, and this is our go-to bait because we can get out there, we can reach the fish. Like you said too, easy to work. You can do a straight retrieve, you can twitch it, whatever you want to do. It's very versatile. That cupped head is what allows that. We got a variety of patterns. We added some different patterns this year. We actually added that brownback for the West Coast guys to match their anchovies because, this was originally designed for an inshore kind of striper, bluefish type of bait. And now the West Coast guys are actually buying these things like crazy to throw them at tuna. So that just kind of goes to show you the versatility of this bait.
Yeah, and that's when those tuna get on that micro feed of those baits that they have nothing to throw. Here comes along a great casting bait that is small, fits the profile. The one thing I've noticed about this bait that really shocks me is the fall when you let it free fall. If anybody's ever seen a Senko free fall, it's got that side-to-side little shimmy. Well, these things just have that wobble when they fall horizontally and then can become super erratic on the twitch. So we have absolutely wrecked everything that swims bluefin trevally, roosterfish, cubera snapper, mackerel, like Cero mackerels, tiger grouper, everything in Panama on these. So they do not hold back. And my other favorite, so it's a 1-2 punch for us down in Panama and everywhere I go now, would be the Colt Sniper jerkbait.
Yep.
New colors as well?
Yeah, we added the same colors. It's an injured mackerel and a brown back, again, for those West Coast guys and then the Northeast guys too. But very versatile bait. Like you said, you know, it a lot of people just are hesitant to throw, you know, these style of lures are like, you know, they're traditional, especially for inshore, soft plastics, things like that, walking baits that are traditionally used. But, you know, there's a lot of applications for this thing. We've got bull reds in Louisiana. We've got snook in Florida, obviously striper in the Northeast, calico bass in the West Coast. I think Benny Florentino was on this feed earlier and in the comments. I know he uses this lure a lot.
He already said he could use a few of those brown backs.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get him some, but it's a very versatile lure. You know, like all over the, you know, different territories and different areas within the U.S. It catches a variety of species. So
yeah, and our setup for either this or the sinking twitch bait has always been, it's been a Tranx 400 on an 8-foot rod that's medium heavy with, you know, 65 or 80 pound PowerPro, and I mean it's effortless if you use the reel. We're using an XG, so we got that high-speed gear ratio. Just point the rod at it and just do your reels to impart that action. It's effortless. You're not wearing yourself out like you do with a traditional jerkbait.
100%. Yeah, just straight retrieval, get it done.
Yeah.
You know, it's an incredible bait. Like I said, it's got a variety of species across the country. So,
like I said, it's become a mainstay. I mean, down at Tropic Star Lodge, it's probably one of the main baits that we can put clients on and ensure them no matter what, whether it's snapper, grouper, bluefin trevally, you know, rooster, we've caught everything on it. So it's always a bonus to have a lure that works like that. Yeah. All right, Adam, I'm going to appreciate your time, dude, because you have rocked through the lures, tons of stuff. Great job. And again, congratulations. Best of show for saltwater lure category for ICAST Online 2020, SP Orca 150. Please extend our congratulations to Shen as well. Great job.
Absolutely. Team effort. Thanks, guys.
All right. All right, folks. So we're running down to the wire here. We are going to get Adam back in there because we got a couple of tools to do. So I see Adam right now jumping in. Again. Sorry, Adam. We thought we were texting you out. We're going to get a text like, Adam's coming back in for tool.
I swear I'm going to be done after this, everybody.
Yeah, there you go. That's all right, Adam. So new tools in the Brutus line, obviously. Give us a rundown, bud.
Yep, this will be quick, I promise. So we just revamped our Brutus tool line. We did a double plating of silver nickel coating on our tools versus that black nickel finish on the previous generation, so they're more corrosion resistant. We changed the handles, so now it's a TPR, a thermoplastic resin handle, which actually sticks to that metal, binds to the metal better, so it won't pull off and slip, things like that. It's also textured and dual density. So again, if you have sunscreen, sweaty hands, things like that, you can actually hold on to the tool a lot easier. Let me think. I think those were the main upgrades.
Pretty quick rundown.
Those were the main upgrades. But yeah, it's a completely revamped tool. I mean, the more corrosion resistant coating, and the handles are completely upgraded.
All right, so I'm going to just throw the specs up here. Obviously, we've got a 6-inch cutter, 6-inch needle nose, 11-inch needle nose, 5-inch scissors with the sheath, 8-inch needle nose pliers, and 5-inch split ring pliers, which every person worth their salt should have a good set of split ring pliers. They are invaluable when you're on the water. And great pricing, $12.99, $14.99, $13.99, $18.99, $19.99. So great job. Once again, Adam, thanks for your time tonight. Super appreciate it, dude.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
All right, one left to go here. We're going to slide over. Again, folks, I appreciate everybody hanging with us all night tonight. We've gone through a ton of product, and we are down to the home stretch. This one will not take too long, but we've got some cool stuff. If you are a fan of doing traveling, fishing, we're going to make sure. I got Andrew texting me right now. Andrew, do we have Nick there? I see Nick. All right, we're good. Just wanted to make sure. So Nick, we're going to bring in right now. There he is. Hey, Nick, how are you?
Hey, JP. Nice to see you.
Good to see you. So we're going to talk about, for all those folks who love to travel, love to organize their gear. You are the man to take care of that, whether it's, our lifestyle gear that we wear, like the hats and the shirts, or the tech stuff, or the bags. What do you want to start with, bud? I've got everything in front of me here.
Yeah, let's start with the Baltica. So we'll walk you through our updated Baltica bag. So we'll talk about all the updates. I might sound a little redundant because all the bags have very similar new features, but we've completely revamped the entire bag collection for Shimano for 2020, right? So launching here at ICAST, and inventory to follow shortly thereafter. But we're super excited about all the bags. So some of you might be familiar with the names of all these bags, but again, these are all completely redeveloped with all new feature sets to make them better. So we were always proud of our bags. We developed for the end consumer, for the angler who's looking exactly as JP said, to take all their items they need for any particular trip. And we're very proud of what we've done in the past, and we're just building off of that legacy to give you an even better option now. So starting with the Baltica tackle bag, which is our top-loaded tackle bag, it'll be available in 2 sizes for this year. Accessible to the main compartment through the top. As you see, it will include 4 tackle trays. Depending on the size, the large will include 4 3700 size. The medium will include 3600 size. And again, access from the top for the main compartment. You've got side compartments. You've got a shoulder strap that's adjustable. Makes it super easy to carry with you. You got a huge front compartment. You could throw tools, lures, any kind of accessory you can think of. You can throw some additional gloves. Really a versatile bag. And the key new features for all of our bags, we're going to talk specifically here, is a reinforced double stitch seam. So the seams on these bags are built to last, right? So previous models may have failed, not just across the industry, right? In regards to you overload a bag or just in general wear and tear as you use your bag over the years. We've reinforced the seams to help add life to the bag and help you do what you do longer. And next, we've added a ripstop polyester fabric throughout the bag, helps prevent snags, pulls, and tears. It looks incredibly great. It's a heavy denier ripstop fabric, so it's performance, and again, adds durability to the bag. And last but not least, is our TPU zippers, right? So we've increased the size of the zippers to make it much easier to grab onto. There's a rope pull at the end, if you can see on the camera. So it's super easy to grab, but more importantly, they're corrosion resistant. That's the benefit of adding TPU over metal.
All right, and these features are going to go right through the entire line, so we're going to save you your breath of having to do it over and over again. Let's talk about the features on the next one. What do you want to pull up next?
Next, we're going to go to Verona.
All right. Pull that up here. So lay it out, bag size, accessibility for the anglers.
Yeah, so the Verona will be available in size large. As you can see, it's a very big bag. You can carry it through this adjustable shoulder strap. Again, the Verona bag is accessible through the main front compartment. You got Velcro up top. So if you're already on the boat or at your location where you're going to be casting from, you can just drop down for quick access, right? If you're going on a longer trip, you want to make sure everything stays a little more sturdy. You got zippers on both sides that helps complete that fit. And you drop them down again, real easy to use. TPU zippers, accessible to these included 3 3700 size tackle boxes. That way you can throw everything you want to bring with you. Super simple, super easy to use. Huge top compartment. You could throw a jacket in here. You could throw additional reels. You could throw lure, tools, line, whatever you can think of. You can add it right here. And again, it's kind of a one-stop shop. It's super big, so that way it's easy to throw a bunch of items into it, and it gives you that availability to kind of choose which different type of what type of fish you're going to be shooting for.
All right, and next on your list, Nick?
Next on the list, we're going to go to our Black Moon backpacks.
Yep.
So Black Moon backpacks, very popular seller for us in the past. It's kind of your all-in-one fishing backpack, your tackle backpack. The new Black Moon top load backpack versus the front load backpack. That's what we're going to kind of tell you the differences between the two models. They're both very similar in size, but have different feature sets. The front load, kind of as the name implies, drop down from the front. Again, zippers on both sides, the TPU zipper to access, which included 4 3600 size tackle boxes. Then you got a main compartment up top. That again is a lot of space. You can use it to throw your jacket. You can throw additional lures. You can throw reels. You got a lot of options here. And you got storage, huge storage pockets, bigger than the previous model on the side. They will include these removable kind of line holders. So you can feed your line through this, makes it much easier to use when you're on the go. And again, all the key features we talked about when it comes to the updated ripstop fabric, the TPU zippers, and the reinforced stitch seams, and not to mention a slip-resistant handle up top. That way you can carry it from here if you're not using it on your bag.
All right, and what's next on your list?
Next is the top load option. So very similar in size. The top load features a main compartment accessible through the middle of the bag. So the zipper cuts the bag in half, kind of fillets open as you see here. And it will include these 3700 size tackle boxes, 3 of them to be exact. Additional storage via zipper on the inside. Again, all kinds of space here to do kind of everything you need to do for your next fishing expedition. And then another great feature on this bag, which is new for this model, a Velcro backed wall. So the back wall in this front compartment is lined with a heavy duty Velcro, and will include 4 of these removable kind of heavy duty PVC resealable bags. So these bags makes it much easier to access. You fill it up, stick it on the wall. You got 4 of them in here, rip it out, easy access, super quick, super easy. Again, super durable. And that's what we're really excited about.
All right. And you got tono in front of you or butterfly jig? What do you want to go through?
Let's go the Blue Wave offshore, and then we'll go into our lead into our offshore bags. So first, our surf casting bag, our Blue Wave surf bag. Again, it's an upgrade to the previous model, and some of the key features in addition to the fabric and the TPU zippers, we've included a much more durable liner in the front to help protect. Available in 2 sizes, and the sizes will dictate not just the entire bag size, but also we've updated the interior. So the previous model had a squared off interior, that way you could throw your jigs and plugs into, but this model has rounded off tubes. Now the key feature of a rounded tube is it gives you a versatile option when throwing different size jigs and plugs into this bag. And again, they're removable as you see here. Therefore, it's easy to access. You can rinse the whole thing down when done using whatever you're using on that particular trip. That way, everything dries much quicker and it helps prevent corrosion.
All right, perfect.
So again, that's
offshore. I guess we're heading offshore now, Nick.
We're heading offshore. So first is our butterfly jig bag. So much like the name, the butterfly jigs that have been in our collection for quite some time, the butterfly jig bag here features 18 slots when you open it up, slip resistant handle. You got 18 slots on the inside to throw your jigs into, and you got different sizes. You got Velcro toppers to make sure they stay put when you're using them. This bag loaded up is nice and heavy, but it also is super protective. It uses that ripstop fabric. It has the TPU zipper on it. So it's built to last, and again, built to protect your key and most important jigs.
Excellent. Nick, you know your stuff, dude. You're going through it. We got one left to go, folks.
So we have one model left that we're really excited about. It's called our Tono Offshore Bag. It'll come in 2 sizes, and so there'll be 2 variances. First, size large. So the Tono Offshore size large, you got the clip on the top, you got a handle, so 2 different ways to keep it secure. When you open it up, you've got access to roughly 35 slots for different jigs, different poppers you can throw into these, as you can see, plastic casing here, these tubes squared off. You got space for line, you got space for tools. It comes with a custom miniature tackle box for some terminal items. It really has a lot packed into this bag, and it's kind of the butterfly jig bag on steroids, we say, in interior here. So yeah, everything in here is kind of removable, almost modular. Everything gets ripped out, so it's super easy to replace, super easy to access everything, and everything is super durable. We built these bags to last.
Nick, you know my address, right?
Yeah, so some of us, I think, they may know where you live.
Well, I got some use for that. I got to tell you. I mean, that's a perfect bag for when I'm traveling. When I get on a plane, throw that in the luggage, load it up with your gear, and you're pretty much good to go.
You're pretty much good to go. That's the plan. So you start off with the butterfly jig bag for that short expedition. If you're going on a longer trip, you need much more options and versatility when it comes to your jigs and your poppers. That's your next step. And then next bag is our XL Tono bag. So this bag is kind of an all-in-one, a one-stop shop for your jigs and for your poppers, for your lures, for your anything you can think of when you're going offshore that you're going to need accessory-wise. So it opens from the top. It's got all kinds of storage on the inside. What we're super excited about is the center of this bag is lined with heavy-duty Velcro. and it's modular. So you open it up, this whole center section rips right out. So now you have another option to take with you in case you don't need everything on this big bag, right? And even on inside here, we got all kinds of features, not just additional space and storage for poppers, for bigger jigs. You've got the butterfly jig bag itself built and stitched into this bag, another 18 slots for jigs. You've got a custom 3600 size tackle box that comes in it. It's got Velcro on it. That way it's meant for this box, but if something needs to be replaced, you can throw it in here and it's secure. That's just the center section. The outside section has, again, another 15 to 20 slots for jigs. You got spots for tools, for line, for any other kind of lures you can think of. Even the outside is loaded with all kinds of storage space. You got drawer pockets on this side that are water resistant. That way you want to throw your phone, your wallet, your keys, whatever you want to bring with you offshore. You're not sure where it goes. Does it go in the console? Does it go in some other bag? Does it get put it away? Put it right here. It's safe. It's easy to go, and it's easy to remember where it's at when you're ready to go off the boat.
Dude, that you guys have some incredible product for fishermen on the go who are looking to travel, and especially when you've got your species or your techniques in mind, you can literally load up one of those for each of your techniques, and you say, well, today I'm going offshore or near shore, top water fishing. You can grab one bag. I'm going offshore deep jigging. You can grab another bag. I mean, that just makes things easy to stay organized as an angler, because I'm the guy that rips everything out of my boat and says, well, today I'm going smallmouth fishing. Try to find everything I need for smallmouth fishing and throw it in. This makes life a lot easier.
That's it. And you're not the only one, right? That's a common theme throughout fishermen. And again, we're building product to not only protect your most prized possessions, but to make it easier for you, just to grab and go and have fun fishing.
Well, awesome, Nick. You know what? Since you've gotten there, we've seen a marked increase in really cool, useful, productive stuff. So thanks for everything you do, obviously, and love seeing the product, and appreciate your time tonight.
All right, you too. Have a good night. Thanks, everybody.
All right, folks, that is it. We ran through our entire offshore deep dive. I mean, needed a tank for this one. There was a ton of product, 26 products. If you have not seen the entire thing, this is going to live on both our YouTube channel for Shimano and our Facebook channel. So feel free to tag a buddy who's into the saltwater market. We had 2 best of show ICAST winners, Vanford and SP Orca 150 tonight, took home honors for best of show in the freshwater reel category and in the saltwater lure category. And we had a ton of great new product, from Saragosa to Talavera rods to Travela PX. The list goes on and on. So tag a buddy in there. We appreciate all of you guys hanging out with us during this virtual ICAST. I realize times are trying. We're just glad that the sport of fishing has continued to be a mainstay. And the folks at Shimano, thank you for all of your time tonight. Thank you to all our pros for spending time with us over the last 3 days. So, folks, I hope you all have a great weekend. I hope you get into some of the new product that we've put out there for you and our teams have been working on. And obviously, have a great time and go catch some fish. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.